Now, in most cars, you're responsible for finding the most comfortable seating position, but in the 2020 Genesis G90, you have something called Smart Seat. So you push this button there, and you're brought over to the infotainment system where you can enter all your settings, your height, weight, and pants inseam length, and the Genesis G90 will adjust the seat to the most comfortable position for you. So say, for example, I am between 6 and 6'1", my pant inseam length is 32 or below, I weigh between 198 and 219 pounds. I hit posture analysis, it analyzes my posture, tells me I'm way out of the recommended range. I hit adjust posture and the seat moves around and adjusts itself to what it thinks is the most comfortable position for me. I found it to be very leaned back. It's not how I would sit, but it is still comfortable nonetheless. Now, since this is a Genesis G90, the coolest thing about it are the rear seats because they are so comfortable. You're meant to be driven and not driving the Genesis G90. You have an insane amount of legroom in the back, and then you have a center console that has a bunch of controls. So let's walk through these. Now, the control center here in the back of the Genesis G90 isn't as advanced as the ones you see on the BMW 7 Series or Mercedes-Benz S-Class, but you do have access to the climate control. You have heated rear seats back here. You can control the audio. You can also turn the display on and off, but be very careful because the driver can get pissed off and lock you out. And then you have a dedicated button for the rear peasant blocker so you don't have anybody looking in, or if you just need some shade. Now, there is an optional rear seat entertainment package which will give you 2 tablets on both of the headrests, behind both of the headrests, and you can see everything the driver's seeing on those 2 screens. This one doesn't have it. I wish it did, but I can't really tell you much about it since it's not here. Now, say you're the owner of this Genesis G90 and you don't like to be driven. You have a driver that drives you around all day. You sit in this seat here because that's the seat which gets the most leg room. So let's just move it from right here in the center console. You can just control it, crush the passenger that's sitting in that seat there, and just worry about your legroom because you're the one that paid for this car and you're the one that's rich. One interesting thing to point out back here is that both rear passengers have access to both rear windows right at their fingertips. So say, for example, the passenger sitting to my right forgets to put their window up. I can control it from right here. Check this out. So that passenger just left without caring about me and putting their window up, so I can put it up. And then also, if you pull this button up halfway, it pulls up the rear side peasant blockers, and you get the window peasant blocker and the side tiny window blocker there. Very cool. Just 2 more things to point out about the rear seats here. If you are a real businessman being driven in the G90, you have a coat hanger on either side. And then if you need access to all 3 seats in the back here, you can fold up the rear control center like this, and you have access to 3 seats for 3 passengers. One really cool setting that I found while I was digging around in the infotainment system. So you know when you tap the indicator halfway down, most cars will only do 3 flashes, but the Genesis G90 gives you the ability to change that. You can do 3 flashes, you can do 5 flashes, and you can do 7 flashes. That's a really cool setting that I wish more cars would have. One of my most absolute favorite features in all Hyundai and Genesis models are the blindside cameras. So say I indicate left, I'll see the camera pop up there showing me what's in my left blind side, and the same happens for the right side. This isn't as crystal clear as the one that I've seen in the new Hyundai Sonata and the Hyundai Palisade, but this Genesis G90 is a mid-cycle refresh and not a brand new model, so I think it'll get better in the next generation that they come out with. Pricing for the 2020 G90 starts at $72,200 for the rear-wheel drive 3.3 model and $74,700 for the all-wheel drive model. If you want an all-wheel drive with the V8, you're looking at over $78,000. Now, there's no optional extras or packages. Everything is standard in the Genesis G90 except for the rear entertainment package. Power comes from a 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 making 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. You can go for a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 making 420 horsepower, but I wouldn't recommend it since there's not much of a difference in terms of performance. 0 to 60 for the Genesis G90 comes in at 5.5 seconds with a top speed of 147 miles an hour. You can go for the optional V8 for some more power, but there's not much difference in terms of performance. Obviously, there's a V8 in here since the Genesis G90 is competing with the big boys like the BMW 7 Series and the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Drive modes on the 2020 Genesis G90 include Comfort, Sport, Eco, and Custom. Custom obviously lets you set the suspension, the powertrain, and the steering to your liking. In terms of fuel economy, the all-wheel drive Genesis G90 gets 17 city, 25 highway. You have a 22-gallon tank capacity. I'm averaging after a couple days of driving a total of 12 miles a gallon, so yes, it is pretty thirsty. The Genesis G90 competes with the Audi A8, BMW 7 Series, Jaguar XJ, Lexus LS, and the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. In terms of pricing, the Genesis G90 is closest to the Lexus LS, but as you can see from my 3P comparison here, the LS is quite a sleeper in this segment. I absolutely love the design of the new G90. It has a very strong presence with that giant grille, and the overall silhouette mixed with those wheels gives it a very classic, luxurious feel. Keep in mind though, this is a mid-cycle refresh. This isn't the new generation model. However, it does carry the brand's new athletic design language seen on the GV80 and the new G80. While the athleticism in the design can be seen with the sloping roofline in the back that gives it a four-door coupe styling feel to it, I still think it has a very classic look. It kind of reminds me of a mixture between the Toyota Century and the Lincoln Continental, especially with those wheels. And then in the back, Genesis adopts a design element that we've seen with every other luxury brand these days, with the taillight that runs through the whole rear of the car. Overall, the Genesis G90 has a very nice, solid presence and a sensuous design that will turn heads everywhere you go. The Genesis G90 comes with 19-inch wheels, and you're either going to love them or you're going to hate them. I absolutely love them. I think they look very, very classy. They do remind me of the wheels from the Mercedes-Maybach S-Class for sure. All Genesis G90 models come standard with LED headlamps that have a really cool G-matrix design. That's what Genesis calls it, and you can see those in the indicator. I love how the indicators run into the side of the car and then continue over right there. That's a really cool design element. To pop the trunk, you can use the keys or a button in the front or a button right above here on the Genesis logo. And once you get it open, excuse the mess, you have 15.7 cubic feet of space, and that's plenty of room to basically put anything you want in there. The interior here on the 2020 Genesis G90 is simply amazing. However, it is still pretty much the same interior that you saw on the outgoing G90. The new interior from the GV80 SUV will be making its way here in the next generation model, but for now, it's just a little bit of a cleanup and nip tuck. Nonetheless, the overall cabin quality is amazing. Everything is wrapped in Nappa leather, there's nice wood grain trim, and it's a very comfortable place to be. The gauge cluster on the 2020 Genesis G90 is pretty standard. There's no digital instrument cluster display. You can circle through some information here, but that's about it. The new digital instrument cluster display from the GV80 SUV will be showing up here in the next generation model. All 2020 Genesis G90 models come standard with a 12.3-inch display, which is now a touchscreen. It houses the new Genesis infotainment system, but it isn't the new infotainment system that you'll see in the GV80 SUV. That one will have things like driver talk, soothing sounds, quiet mode, and much more. Those things you even see in the Hyundai Sonata and the Hyundai Palisade. All that new stuff will be making its way into the G90 in the next generation model, but let me give you a quick tour. You do have Apple CarPlay, you do have Android Auto as standard. This is your main home screen, and you have three widgets. One is a navigation, one is your media, and the other one is a climate control, and then you spin right into all the other menu options. One of the coolest things I did want to point out about the infotainment system is something called blue light filter. It's basically the same thing as night mode, which you have on the iPhone. So at nighttime, when you're driving and there's too much blue light coming from the display here, you can just turn on blue light filter and it'll make it easier on the eyes and make it a little bit more yellow. And obviously the most important function here is to lock out rear controls. If your rear passengers get too excited and get out of hand and keep turning off your display, you can just lock them out. When it comes to driver assist tech, you do have lane keep assist, you have adaptive cruise control, you have blind spot detection, and then for your camera angles, you have a 360 view, a rear view, a top rear view, and a view that shows you how you're pulling into a spot, making sure that your G90 is completely centered, but that's about it. While I'm here, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the center console, which is also wrapped in nice Nappa leather. You have your HVAC controls here, you have buttons for your camera, parking sensors, auto hold, drive mode, your gear shift, and then your wireless charger is right here. You throw your phone in there, and then your phone will wirelessly charge, but most people will end up throwing keys and hand sanitizers and other things in there. If you're somebody that enjoys a really nice sound system, the Genesis G90 comes standard with a 17-speaker Lexicon sound system, which is absolutely amazing. Very good quality, very nice bass and treble, and has a very concert-like feel to it. You do have the option to customize the interior with some ambient lighting. I always have it set to blue because that's my favorite color, but you have the choice of polar white, aurora purple, ocean blue, which is my selection right now, lake blue green, orchid green, some yellow that I don't know how to say. Let's try it. Freesia yellow, maybe, and sunrise red. The seats on the Genesis G90 are extremely comfortable. You have 22-way power adjustable Nappa leather seats, so they're very, very soft and very customizable. You have a nice Genesis logo embossed into the headrest there. These aren't massaging seats, and I think that's a big missed opportunity on Genesis' part, but you might see that on the next generation G90 when it comes out, hopefully next year. While you don't get massaging seats, which I think is a really, really big missed opportunity here, you do get heated and cooled front seats and heated rear seats, One thing I find really interesting, you also get a heated steering wheel, but the heated steering wheel has 2 different levels, which is the first time I've seen something like that, and I think that's really cool. You can either keep it really hot or just hot enough or not hot at all. You get a total of 4 cup holders here in the G90, so if you want to be nice to your driver, get him a nice cold cup of iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. You have 2 in the front, and then in the back, where are the cup holders? Because that's supposed to be the most comfortable seat in the G90. The cup holders are hidden in the rear control center right there, and that's the type of cup holders you get if you're rich. You obviously have soft closed doors. Come on now, here they are in action. And while I'm here, here's a door close sound from the outside. And here it is from the inside. I know you guys like hearing this stuff. Pretty solid. Maybe one day I'll sit down and create a video of all the horn sounds that I've demoed for you guys, but here's the horn sound of the Genesis G90. Pretty solid. When we're done with all this quarantining, if that's a word, and social distancing, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting a haircut. Either way, now that I've answered all of your questions about the 2020 Genesis G90, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this awesome luxury sedan that hopes to compete with the best of the best out there. Let's get to it. So here's the thing about the 2020 Genesis G90. This is a mid-cycle refresh instead of an all-new model. So while on the outside, this has the brand's new athletic design language that you see on the GV80 SUV and the G80 sedan, on the inside is practically the same G90 as the outgoing model. That being said, I cannot wait to see the next generation G90 because I've sat in the GV80, and honestly, in terms of quality, tech, and design, that interior is amazing. It could honestly put some top-tier luxury brands to shame. So while the G90 as it currently stands might not be able to compete with the best of the best like the BMW 7 Series and the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, I think the next generation model will really go head-to-head with those 2 legendary models, especially if they can keep the pricing the same. But if you are in the market for a large luxury sedan and your budget is under 80 grand, you have the Lexus LS, you have the Jaguar XJ, and I would definitely put the Genesis G90 right next to those 2 and test drive those if you're in the market for a large luxury sedan. As a daily driver, the Genesis G90 is extremely smooth. It has a butter-like ride quality, and the cabin is very, very quiet. I don't think anybody shopping in this segment really cares that much about performance, but if you do, the twin-turbo V6 here gives you 365 horsepower, and I think that's plenty of enough power for your daily needs. You can upgrade to the 5-liter V8 making 420 horsepower, but there's not much difference in terms of performance, so just save your money. Honestly, there was a time where I used to get a Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis in my test drive schedule, and I'd be pretty upset, not that excited, but now I feel the same excitement that I do when I test drive a BMW or Mercedes-Benz. To me, one of the most important factors that I consider when test driving a car is how other people react to it. Obviously, since we're social distancing, I haven't had much interaction with anybody at all. But my neighbor did see this, and he told me it was one of the most beautiful cars he's seen, and he's in the market for a Tesla, so that says a lot. And no, I'm not saying this is better than a Tesla, so relax. Honestly, I think Genesis has come so far as a brand, and I can't wait to see where they go from here. I can't wait to see the next generation G90. I can't wait to test drive the new GV80 SUV later this year. Either way, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Omar Drives, because that's where I get all the questions that I answer in these videos. And make sure you comment, like, because I do reply as much as I can. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Please be safe out there. I'll see you next time. Take care.